Hi, my name's Ian Wallace. I call myself the Messed Up Counsellor, which is quite an intriguing name. And the podcast you're about to see is one of many, and we've been doing about a year now. So you can look back and see all the things we've talked about with guests and on my own over the process. A lot of the information I use in the podcast initially came from the first book I wrote in 2011. Why do we do that? What do we do about it? And that came out and was the basis of all my learning, understanding at that time, which is going back a few years now. And that process of understanding how the world works for people, how we can alter, change and adapt it, was kind of what it was there to do with the initial stages. I've made that now an audiobook as well, so it's available on Amazon as an audio file that you can check out and you can download to your heart's content, and hopefully that will be helpful. In the podcasts, we're trying to look at all sorts of things about human interactions, human dynamics, the world, and how we might understand it more or change it more. So it gives you lots of ideas and tools in order to think about and look at different ways of being or dealing with things. And hopefully that brings people together and makes people more able to connect and communicate. Lots of topics. If you ever want to connect to me, just obviously drop me a comment on the podcast and I shall try as much as possible to reply. And if you've got any ideas of things that we might want to use on the podcasts, then please let me know. My name's Ian Wallace. Thanks for looking and thanks for listening. Hi, my name's Ian Wallace, the Messed Up Counsellor. Today I'd like to explore and discuss something that is not easy to get your head around. It's not easy to get my head around the word, actually, being dyslexic. Psychosomatic illness. When the first time I was produced with that at a GP surgery many years ago in Maltby, not in Rotherham, psychosomatic illnesses, it was, I looked to the word and I'm thinking, and the GP had obviously written this word down on somebody's patient notes, and I'm thinking, I think I might have to check that out, look in a dictionary or something. Luckily, the GP was in the room and having a coffee, so I just asked them. Psychosomatic illness. Yes, right. Okay, what is it? It's a physical, real thing. It's not made up. Okay. A lot of people think it's your imagination. Yeah. Psychosomatic is not your imagination. It actually is real. Yeah. So all our bodies, everybody's body, it will have a place where the body will naturally always show their vulnerability. So it might be somebody's back. It might be the leg. It might be the stomach. It might be the neck. It might be the head. There'll be a physical place that you keep getting a problem with, but not a problem that can be cured by a GP. So for me, long time ago, my 20s, it was my stomach, IBS, as you call it, irritable bowel syndrome. And I couldn't get it resolved. No matter how hard I try, how many investigations I had, and I had cameras and all sorts of things, which I won't go into detail about. And anybody's had cameras in certain places, you don't need to go into detail about. And that psychosomatic illness was the place that was my weakness. That was the place physically that I would take notice of when it happened. And that's what the body does. It finds a place, a spot that you will take notice. So when we call it psychosomatic, it is in the mind, obviously, psycho, but it is a real thing that the physical body makes happen. That process will be because usually and this is obviously when the physical stuff has been checked out by your GP and there's no reason for it or they can't find any reason for it. The physical process, for me, the IBS, which is a common one, to be fair, was when I was in scenarios of emotional stress, emotional pressure, anxiety, worry, fear, all those kind of components. So when I'm in those situations in my early 20s, and naturally, I'm a new dad, and I've got a very responsible process. I've got to find money. I've got to do the job. I've got to get on. There's a lot of drives to make it happen, for my partner as well, not just for me. But as I'm doing that, there's an awful lot of pressure, and there's always more month than money, as is most cases with people that are young. And there's always more to do. There's always more work to do to get that money, quite naturally. So when I'm going through that with the GP and I'm saying, I've got this stomach problem, I've got this IBS kind of thing, and they have a look at it and they just can't find any reason for it. That's when in GP surgeries, when I was in Maltby and working around Rotherham, that we'd get people that the GPs would say to us, look, I've done all the investigation with this person, with this patient, as they call them, but we call them clients. And I just can't resolve it. I just can't find it. I just can't get anything that'll tell me that this thing's happening. The blood tests don't work, or, the internal checkouts don't work, or anything like that. So then they'd give them to the counsellor. And that's when I became aware of this psychosomatic illness. So they give them to the counsellor because there's something in that client's world is not working. There's some pressure, there's some anxiousness, there's some fear, there's some worry, there's something in there that's going on. So it's up to us to try and find that with the client, with the patient. So we do some exploratory work about the world and the life and what's going on emotionally, what's going on mentally for them, where are they in that process. And we do some counselling work with it. In those days, not just 6 sessions, we could do longer. That's the way it was in those days, which was really good. And that process means that we could explore, we could get an understanding, we could start clearing some of that stuff out, whatever that was, mentally and emotionally. And then, wow, that pain would disappear. And this happened constantly with patients and clients, that we would be getting these people come through and the GP would refer them on to us and we would do some work on, and that then would alleviate the pain or the worry or the IBS or whatever it was that was going on. So it made me understand that actually that pain that I was feeling, the IBS, is an indicator. Okay, it's painful, and I still get it nowadays, to be fair. And there's been lots of cameras over the years. The cameras got smaller, actually. They're much smaller than they used to be. They used to be like, the size of a drainage pipe, that goes into your kitchen. Well, nowadays, the small things, optic things, which is a lot easier. I digress, sorry. So, yeah, I'm that old. So from that point of view, the IBS would resolve itself. But it wouldn't resolve itself completely forever. So I was using that indicator of my IBS to say, okay, this is happening that I cannot stop. I can have a stomach calmer or some of the kind of stuff that you take in order to help you, but it would come back again and again and again and again. So I use it now as an indicator that something in my world and my life, mentally, emotionally, is not happy. So instead of just treating the IBS, which I still do, but I also look at the emotional and the mental stuff that's going around me. And I see where that is. And then I clear that up, or come to terms with it, or get it out, look at it, bring closure on it, whatever it is that's going on for me. And then that process means that the IBS goes away. So instead of it being a negative process, I use it as an early warning system. And that to me makes it a lot easier because there is a reason for it. It's not just my body doing it. There's a reason that I can do something about. I can help it. I don't just have to take tablets or stuff, you know. And then that process of doing something about it, I can then see that actually, if I put in place some changes to my world, my life, then that will not recreate again. So I kind of remove it. So I'll give you an example of that. So when I'm going through it, mid-20s, and I start seeing this process, and then I start doing the work in the GP surgeries and stuff, and I realise all these things, then I could see that my reaction was usually around financial instability. I usually didn't think I had enough money to survive. And, you know, not just for me, for my family, for everybody around me. So I realised that financially, if I wasn't secure, that would result in something of this IBS. Now, it's not just financially. There's other things that I've become aware of over the years. But if we take that as an example. So what I did is I built myself a cushion financially so that I have, even now, in the bank, I have a pot of money that I know that if my world financially becomes insolvent, you know, maybe I can't work for a living, or, you know, I can't do something, or, you know, the bills can't be paid, I don't have enough money coming in, there's no clients, not usually, but sometimes it gets me on the edge, as any self-employed person will tell you, then I can say, okay, so I'll build that little piece of pot of money up, and that will give me a cushion. So that I took out of my world. That took out of the process. So I started doing that, and I've kept on doing that, to be fair, as much as possible. And that then cuts out that part of the worry, that kind of the fear, that concern. So that no longer is a reaction that the IBS uses, because it's no longer in my world in that sense. So if we understand the triggers, the things that are happening to us in our emotional and mental well-being, then we can remove them or put some kind of control around them. And that then helps us to not have those physical situations, scenarios. So if you look at anxiety, a lot of people suffer with anxiety. So anxiety, if not dealt with or not able to be dealt with, sometimes it isn't a choice, then we can have, and it can result in a panic attack. Now, a panic attack is real. I've only ever had one in my life, and I do not want another one. And that panic attack means that the physical body is real. You know, I was hooked up to a heart machine and all the monitors and stuff. It was real. It wasn't something that I was putting on or I was just making up. It was a real situation. But it was a real situation that's saying, my body's saying to me, Ian, you need to take notice of this. Because there's something here in your mental and emotional processes that you're not dealing with. So once I realise that, then I do the work on the mental and emotional processes, the well-being stuff, take away the thing that I'm reacting to, or at least get control over it, and then this doesn't happen. The physical stuff doesn't happen. So if you can see the physical as an early warning sign, okay, much better if I dealt with this stuff before it became a physical. I get that. Unfortunately, sometimes not easy to do, you know. But when I get that feeling in my stomach now with the IBS, then I know I need to look at stuff, investigate stuff that's going on around me. And then I deal with that and the IBS goes away. So because I'm getting more and more in tune with that, it doesn't become the IBS that it used to be that was like crippling, yeah. Now I can get a sense of it when it's just happening in my stomach before it becomes crippling. And I can kind of work with that, yeah. And that process means that I can stop it becoming worse. So I can get in at the front end, do some work on it, and release that stuff, whatever it is, so then it doesn't reduce me to that crippling IBS. So my sensitivity to that, if you like, is getting more and more. So now it's not about feeling pain. Now it's a gurgling process that I have in my stomach, which a lot of people have. But even when I've eaten, it would become a gurgling. So when there's a gurgling, I do some work on it. I kind of look at it, look around me, see what's going on, see which part of my world is not okay, emotionally and mentally, and then do some work on that release. And if I do the work on the release, then the gurgling goes away. So if you can use it as an early warning sign and you get more and more sensitive so you can get hold of it earlier and earlier, like I've done, then that means that you can remove that stuff. And once you remove the stuff, then you won't have the reaction. Because the reaction, the physical pain, is only to tell you there's something wrong because you're not taking notice of it. And then you remove the emotional. It'll always be something that no doctor, no GP, nobody can resolve. And that is something that you have to recognise, what it is on your body. So everybody's different. What it is on your body that does that. So for me, it was IBS. Then I get more sensitive to that feeling, emotion, that physical extended process. And then the sooner I got on board with that, the sooner I can deal with the emotion and the mental. And then the IBS goes away. So if you've got people that do have that problem where things are creating that emotional reaction to a physical pain, will always be the same place on the body because the body knows which way to get your attention the easiest, yeah? And then you do the release and it goes away, then you're working with something that's psychosomatic. So they are real. People might say to you, well, you're putting it on, you know, it's all in your mind, it's in your imagination. Well, it is in your mind, obviously, because everything is. But it is a real thing. It's a real pain or a real physical process. So work with the emotional and the mental, build up that process, release the stuff, whatever the stuff is, and then you'll find that your physical reaction will reduce and will get less. The worst thing you can do is ignore it, because it will get worse and it'll probably pick somewhere else on the body that's going to hurt even more, you know? And if you've got people around you that are trying to deal with this stuff, because it's not easy to deal with, try and be a bit more kind, a bit more sensitive to their needs, their requirements. And don't see it as they're just looking for attention, because it's normally not that. Yes, people do put in place some process of wanting attention by saying something is wrong or something's not right. There are people who do that. But the vast majority, certainly with psychosomatic, is not doing it because they want attention. It's real. And it just needs that process. And counsellors, therapists, obviously, can help you with that process. Sometimes we'll go for physical procedures, massage, reflexology, all those kind of things, which will help. I'm a great believer in all those kind of things, acupuncture, whatever it is. But if you haven't resolved that behind the scenes stuff, that physical, that mental and emotional stuff, then chances are it'll probably come back. So yes, do those other things as well. I do myself, but also look at the background stuff, the things in your world, in your life at the same time, and do some release work on it. And if you have a look at the book, Why Do We Do That and What Do We Do About It, which is kind of on Amazon, it gives you all sorts of tools, can help you investigate it, understand it, and deal with it, to be fair. Tools that I've used in my world and my life that work. I won't give you tools that don't work. And they might help you to understand your world a bit more. Who knows? Hopefully that's made sense. Hopefully it's been interesting. Yeah, delving into the psychosomatic illnesses. And be kind to yourself. Look at it, work it out, try and find out what it is, resolve it, whatever it is. And then hopefully you'll feel much more better, much more comfortable. My name's Ian Wallace. I'm the Messed Up Counsellor. Please share, subscribe, and like. Thanks so much. Take care. Hi, thanks for listening to the podcast, and hopefully it made sense and was interesting for you. Please subscribe, like, and share. With the podcasts, you never know who will be helped by the things we talk about, things we share. We don't normally tell people our problems, but by sharing it and helping other people to understand things. The book Insecurity, It's All About Me, is also available now through Amazon. And it gives you an understanding of what drives insecurity, how insecurity works within our human dynamics, and how you can get a much more secure connection with people. It gives you lots of ideas and thoughts, which is really good. So thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, share, hit the button. And if you've got any comments, please give me them and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks very much. Take care.